Next one is the seals. Or where are the seals used in a hydraulic system? So if you take the example of the piston and cylinder here, yeah, you are having the piston and cylinder arrangement here. The outer box, outer rectangle represents the cylinder. The inner one, this one will be representing the piston. Now, where the seals are going to prevent the leakage? So whenever we say the leakage in the hydraulic system, it is a oil that is moving through the system without doing any kind of work, or whatever pressure energy is there, that is getting lost. All these things we will call it as a leakage. Now, if you take this particular piston and cylinder arrangement as an example here, now you are supplying high pressure fluid. We will say that from this particular end, we are supplying the high pressure fluid. So this will be the rod end. So here you are having the piston rod. So this end will be called as the rod end. This is the piston. So this end will be called as the piston end. So if you are supplying high pressure fluid over here, then in this entire region, there will be high pressure fluid. Or if you take if you are supplying fluid in the other direction, if you are supplying fluid on the piston side, the piston will move forward. So whatever oil is there, that is going out of the cylinder. Now in any case, you are having some hydraulic fluid on both sides of the piston. But we want the hydraulic fluid to create force on this particular area of the piston so that the piston will be moving forward. Now, what are the chances for the oil to not do the work that is expected to do? Now, whatever oil is present over here, it can pass through the gap between the piston and cylinder, and it can go from one side to the other side without doing any kind of work. So that is one kind of leakage. Now, another leakage is whatever oil is present over here, instead of directly going into the port, it can try to escape through the small gap that will be present between the piston rod and the cylinder. So oil can escape from here and it can go. That is also possible. Now, the two ends of the cylinder, they have to be mechanically closed, because if you are having a completely cylindrical object with the closed ends on both sides, then it is not possible to insert the piston inside. So initially, the cylinder will be open at one end or both ends. Then you are mechanically fastening it by using some threads, or by using bolt and nut, or by using the welding procedure. So different kinds of joints are possible. Now between the two elements, whatever you are tightening, for example, you are doing the threading, or you are doing the bolt and nut arrangement for closing the ends of the cylinder. So there also, we never allow a metal to metal contact to come whenever we are having a perfect sealing or to prevent leakage. There will be some kind of a elastic material, that is a seal material will be there. You are placing the seal and then you are tightening the bolts so that oil will not be escaping. So from here also, if the seal is broken down or seal is damaged, or if the bolts are tightened excessively, the seal can break inside. So all of these things can cause the oil to leak from this particular joint and it can go out. So the oil can move internally from one side to the other side without doing any work, or it can go from inside to the outside and it may come into contact with the atmosphere. That is also a leakage. So whenever we say seal, it is used to prevent the leakage, but there are two kinds of leakages. One is internal leakage, other one is external leakage. So internal leakage means the fluid is not escaping out of the system. So you are having a hydraulic system, it will start from the reservoir, the oil will be going into the pump. From pump it is going to different valves through different pipes, and then it is reaching the actuator. From the actuator, we are bringing the oil back into the tank. So this is a completely closed system. Now in the internal leakage, what happens is oil will be moving inside without doing any work. The other one is external leakage. External leakage means system is leaking out into the atmosphere. Different pipe connections you have made. If the connections are not made properly, you will be having the leakage of the fluids. Now, which of the two leakages is more dangerous? Now, if you consider the internal leakage, the fluid is not doing any work, but it is remaining within the system. So because of internal leakage, what will happen is you will be having lowered efficiency of the system. So there will be a lot of power losses. So you are spending the energy of the pump or electric motor to transfer the power or energy into the hydraulic fluid, but that hydraulic fluid is simply escaping through the gaps without doing any useful work. That is the main issue with the internal leakage. And whenever you want very fine control, if you are not having adequate sensors and other things, then some amount of motion is lost because the fluid is simply escaping without creating the movement. But if you are having the external leakages, that is more dangerous. Now, why we consider external leakages as more dangerous? So there are several factors. Number one, when you are having external leakage, the fluid is going out of the system, which means the fluid is coming in contact with the atmosphere. So that fluid is actually lost. You cannot reuse that particular fluid because it has gone into the atmosphere. It is getting dust and other things. So we cannot reuse that particular fluid. So if you are continuously operating the system, when there is external leakage, what happens is over a period of time, the oil in the reservoir will be reducing. So the amount of oil in the reservoir will be reducing. And if the level falls below the minimum level requirement, then there is a chance that the pump will suck atmospheric air inside, and in the system you will be having lot of air. So if air is there, you will be having issues with the compressibility. You will have a high temperature because air will be compressed at high pressures and its temperature is going to increase. So you can have oxidation issues also. So these problems are going to be coming. Apart from that, whenever there is an external leakage, it is an indication that there is a connection between the atmosphere and the fluid inside the system. If there is any low pressure inside the system because of the movement of some actuator, then atmospheric air can also be sucked inside from that particular sealing joint, so wherever it is present. So atmospheric air can be sucked inside, you are losing oil. Now when you are losing oil, wherever it is falling, there is a chance of catching fire. That also is there. Or if it is falling on the floor, it may cause slippages and other related issues. Or if you are having some workpiece on which you don't want any oil and you are having a hydraulic system which is leaking, then the workpiece also may get damaged. So these are the different issues with respect to the external leakage. External leakage will also cause power losses. It will also cause loss of oil from the system. So between internal leakage and external leakage, you have to always address the issue of external leakages very urgently, and internal leakages can be addressed on the not very urgent basis unless the power loss is very, very high. For example, you are having a system efficiency of say 95% and you are having some internal leakage. Then the efficiency of the system may drop to say 90% or something. If you are having external leakages, then also system efficiency will drop, but along with it, you will be having loss of oil, which is not preferable. So in order to prevent both the internal leakages as well as the external leakages, you are using elements called as seals inside the hydraulic system. Now we have to always remember that it is not possible to get 100% sealing. There is always going to be some amount of leakage. Why? That also we have to understand. Now for example, again we'll take the case of the piston and cylinder arrangement. You are having the piston and you are having the cylinder. Now you are placing some seal here, some sealing material you are placing all around the piston. Now if the sealing material is not providing a gap between the piston seal and the cylinder, then the movement of this particular piston will not be possible. So it will form a very zero clearance joint, then it is not possible to have a movement here. So here also same is the case. Even though you have placed a seal here, it will try to stop the flow of oil from the inside of the cylinder to the atmosphere. But here it has ensured that the piston can slide on the inside of the cylinder. Here the piston rod should be able to slide on the inner surface. If the seal has to do that, so if the piston has to move, the seal should allow some amount of oil film to be present on top of the cylinder surface. If that oil film is also not present, then the friction is going to increase. So how much of sealing you are going to create is a very important factor. So whatever seals you are selecting, they should be having some kind of specification of how much of sealing they can do or how much of oil film they are going to allow. So you should always allow some amount of oil film to be created. That oil film should be very, very thin, and you should not allow a lot of atmospheric air to enter into the cylinder, or you are not allowing atmospheric air to come in contact with the hydraulic fluid. So this is what we have to remember. Even though we don't want any kind of leakages, whether internal leakages or external leakages, we are employing the seals, but seals will not prevent 100% leakage. So they will go up to say 99.99% or something, but there is always going to be some amount of leakage. This leakage is needed because to create the lubrication of the system. So how is the seals classified? So seals are classified in different ways. The first method is based on the method of sealing. The first one is positive sealing, other one is the non-positive sealing. So positive sealing means it is not going to allow the flow of fluid from one side to the another side. So that is a positive sealing. Non-positive sealing means it will allow some amount of internal leakages. So the next criteria classification is based on the relative motion between the seal and other parts. So whenever we say seal, there are minimum two components. Then whether the two components are having relative motion or the two components are static, which means they are not having any relative motion. If the two components are not having any relative motion, then the seal is called as a static seal. And if the two components, if they are having some kind of movement, then the seal used is called as a dynamic seal. So now you are seeing, this is the figure for the static seal. So you are having some flange or some component on top of which you are placing another metallic component, and you are using a bolt to join them together. So this may be the cylindrical cylinder. This is the end of the cylinder. You are closing with some cover, and you are using a bolt to join them together. Now, if you are not using the seal over here, then what happens is, whatever hydraulic fluid is there here, it will pass through the gaps between the two metallic surfaces, and it will simply escape into the atmosphere. So in order to prevent that, you are using a seal over here. So that seal is going to prevent the movement of the oil into the atmosphere. So this is a positive type of the seal, because we don't want any oil to escape from the inside of the cylinder into the outside of the cylinder. Now it is called as a static seal because the two components are not having any relative motion, because you are using a bolt and nut and you are fastening them together. So that will be a case of the static type of the seal. Now you are having a dynamic seal here. This is a cross section of the piston. On the piston circumference, you are having a groove. Inside the groove, you are placing a rubber seal or some kind of seal material or O-ring seal. Then you are having the cylinder. So this is a cylindrical barrel, one side of the cylindrical barrel. Now the piston has to reciprocate. The piston has to reciprocate inside the cylinder. Now you don't want lot of oil to flow in this particular gap to reach the other side. So you are using a seal. Now question is whether it is a positive seal or a non-positive seal. So this will be a non-positive seal because it has to allow the presence of oil on the cylindrical surface. If the oil is not present here, this seal will be moving against a metallic surface. The temperature of the seal is going to increase, and it may have some change in properties, or it may simply degrade, or it may cause wear and tear. So it will be a non-positive type of the seal. Now apart from that, there will be a relative motion between the piston and the cylinder. So because of that, we will say this will be the dynamic seal. Dynamic seal because there is a relative motion between the cylinder and the piston. So this will be a non-positive type of dynamic seal, and this will be a positive type of static seal. So the next classification is based on the geometrical shape. So there are three basic types. One is the O-ring seal. The cross section of the seal will be circular in nature. Next one is the T-ring seals. The cross section, if you are cutting the seal at any location, you will see a T-shaped cross section. Then you are having U-ring seals and you are having the V-ring seals. Now if you have seen the gasket which is present in the domestic pressure cooker, if you are cutting it at any location, you will see the cross section as V shape. So what happens over there? So when the pressure inside the cooker is increasing, the seal is in the V shape here. It will be like the V shape. So the pressure will be acting on the inner surface of the V. The V will open against the metallic surfaces for which it is trying to seal, and it will create a very good type of the sealing. In the similar fashion, U-ring seals are also going to function. So on the inner surface of the U, the hydraulic pressure is going to act, that is trying to open the seals further, which is going to increase the sealing property of these seals. So next one is the T-ring and O-ring seals. The dynamic seal what you are seeing, which is present around the piston, that can be an example of the O-ring seal here. Even here, the static seal which is used to prevent the leakage between the end covers of the cylinder and the barrel itself, then that can be circular in cross section. So that will be an example of the O-ring seal. Now what is the T-ring seal? Now T-ring seal will be, this is the cross section of the T-ring seal. Now it will not be used straight away. Usually whatever T shape is there, here you will be having additional sealing materials. It may be a metallic ring placed in order to strengthen the vertical structure here of the seal. So if it is as it is, then whenever it is trying to move up and down, this T-shaped projection is going to have some deflections and it can fail at this particular point. So in order to make it more strengthened, so we are using some additional components here. It may be made up of fiber reinforced polymers or it may be made up of metals, and you are tightening them and you are placing over here. So you are having only small surface which is exposed and which will be moving against the cylinder, or it will be creating some dynamic arrangement. So you can use it as a dynamic seal. So this is how a T-ring seal is used. Next one is the V-ring or U-ring seals. So whenever you are having a large area for which you have to apply the seal. For example, the seals will be having some specification saying that a seal can withstand a pressure of say 50 bar or 100 bar, and you want to do a sealing for a length of say some 15 millimeters, then only you will get a very good sealing action. Then having one single seal for the entire 50 millimeter length is not very suitable. So what we will do is usually we will create a stack of seals. So you can see here, all these things are V-ring seals. So you are having the V cross section, several V cross sections are there. At the top you are having one specific triangular shape, and at the bottom you are having another special shape of the seal. So if you want for a sealing for a very large area, if the piston length is very, very large and you want the sealing for a very large area, instead of buying one single seal, you can buy the standard seals and you can keep on adding the different V shapes in between, and you can increase the length of the sealing area. In the same fashion, you can also use the U-shaped seals also. Apart from this particular application, just now I said, U-shaped seals and V-shaped seals can be used independently, wherein the pressure is acting on the inner surface of the V or inner surface of the U. The V and U-shaped arms are going to open out against the surfaces of the component, thereby creating a proper sealing. So it can be used in this configuration or it can be used in the another configuration. That is about the based on the geometry of the seals. The next classification is based on the material. So what will be the material of the seals? So earliest seals were made up of leather. It is having some very good properties. That the main disadvantage of leather is its moisture absorption. Now what happens when leather absorbs moisture? It is going to swell. So when it swells, it is going to create more tightness between the two joints. That is one thing. When it absorbs moisture, its strength is going to vary and it is going to break or tear apart very quickly. Now if it tear apart, what is the issue, you may think? So whenever it is tearing off, if it is coming in contact with the oil, it is going to be carried away by the oil and it will create some blockages, which is not preferable. So leather is still used as a static seal in some applications, but because of the advancement in polymer technology nowadays, lot of the seals are made up of polymer compounds with some added materials to improve their property. So the next type of seal is the natural rubber. So natural rubber is rubber without any additives. Again, these were the earliest type of seals which were used at the beginning of the hydraulic implementation. So whenever the hydraulic systems was created at that time, they didn't find any alternative materials. So they went for leather and natural rubber. So whenever the pressure of the system began to increase, the natural rubber was not able to handle the pressure. So they began improving the properties of the natural rubber. So we got the synthetic rubbers. So there are different types of synthetic rubbers. So again, natural rubber will not have very good properties in the presence of moisture, in the presence of some kind of hydraulic oils. Then it will not be having very good pressure withstanding capability. It is not having very good temperature withstanding capability. So because of all these reasons, nowadays natural rubber is very rarely used as a seal material. So instead of natural rubber, what we have is the synthetic rubber. So the synthetic rubber, it is a polymer compound which we are creating to meet the requirements. So you are having different synthetic rubbers like neoprene, you are having nitrile rubber, you are having silicone, you are having Teflon, and you are having the Viteon. So from neoprene to Viteon, the temperature withstanding capability of these rubbers is continuously increasing. So neoprene can operate at say 70 degrees, whereas Teflon and Viteon can cross even 100 degrees centigrade. So if you go to Teflon, this one, it is having very good wear resistance. It is not going to tear away very quickly. And it is a very soft material, which is going to be very useful whenever you are having a dynamic kind of application. So as we are going from neoprene to Vitia, and again the strength of this particular materials, their wear resistance property, their sealing ability, their strength are all going in the increasing fashion from neoprene up to the Vitia. So these are some of the synthetic rubbers which are manufactured for specific application. So you want some operation for high temperature, then you are going for the Teflon or Vitia. So if you are operating for at lower temperature, then neoprene or nitrile rubbers are more than sufficient. Even silicone will be sufficient for lower temperature application. So like that, we can select a particular kind of seal material depending on the pressure, depending on the temperature in which you want to operate, and also depending on the oils you are going to use. Now, some oils can have some adverse reaction with neoprene, or they may be having some adverse reaction with the nitrile, but they will not be having any reaction with the Teflon and Vitia. But why we have to go not going for Teflon all the time? Because as the performance or performance characteristics of a seal material improves, its cost also is going to increase accordingly. So depending on the cost factors, depending on the requirement, you are going to select a particular kind of synthetic rubber.